So here's something that happened at a dinner party last month. My friend Sarah, who's a nurse, pulls me aside and whispers that she's been keeping her savings in a regular checking account for 8 years. 8 years. We're talking about $43,000 just sitting there, earning basically nothing. And here's the thing, she's not alone. When I asked why, she said investing felt like learning a foreign language. Too many options, too much jargon, too stressful. But then she asked me one question that changed everything. What if there was just one thing I could do? That one thing? Index funds. Now, I know what you're thinking, here we go, another finance thing that sounds simple but turns out to be complicated. But stick with me, because index funds are genuinely different. They're what Warren Buffett recommends for regular people. They're what most millionaires quietly use. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to master them in 30 days, without the stress, without the confusion. We're going to build this from the ground up, starting with a story that makes the whole thing click. Let me tell you about my neighbor Tom. Every Saturday morning, he'd spend 2 hours clipping coupons, driving to 3 different stores, trying to save maybe $15 on groceries. Meanwhile, he'd also spend hours every week trying to pick winning stocks, reading reports, watching business news, moving money around. One day I asked him, what if you could get better investment results by doing basically nothing? He laughed. He thought I was joking. But here's what most people don't understand about investing, it's one of the few areas in life where doing less actually gets you more. Alright, let's get into it. An index fund is basically a basket that holds tiny pieces of hundreds or thousands of companies all at once. Instead of you trying to pick which companies are going to win, you just buy a little bit of everything. Think of it like this, imagine you're betting on a horse race, but instead of picking one horse, you bet on all of them. One of them is guaranteed to win, right? That's the basic idea. You own a slice of the entire market. When the market goes up over time, you go up with it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Index funds didn't exist until 1975. Before that, if you wanted to invest, you had to either pick individual stocks yourself or pay someone big fees to pick them for you. Then this guy named John Bogle at Vanguard had a radical idea. What if we just copied the entire market? People thought he was crazy. Other investment companies actually laughed at him. They called his first index fund Bogle's Folly. But he launched it anyway, and it changed everything. Suddenly regular people could invest like the big institutions. So why did Wall Street hate index funds? Because they revealed an uncomfortable truth. See, most professional money managers, people with fancy degrees and expensive suits, couldn't beat the market average. Studies showed that over 80% of them actually did worse than just buying everything. And index funds charged way lower fees, which meant less money in Wall Street's pocket. It's like if someone opened a restaurant where you could eat anything on the menu for $5, and right next door there's a place charging $100 for a meal that might not even be as good. Warren Buffett was so confident in index funds that in 2007 he made a bet. He wagered $1 million that a simple index fund would beat a collection of hedge funds, you know, those exclusive investment funds for rich people, over 10 years. Hedge funds are run by some of the smartest people in finance, using complex strategies, charging massive fees. The result? The index fund won by a landslide. It wasn't even close. The index fund returned about 126%. The hedge funds? Around 36%. This blew people's minds, but it proved what Bogle had been saying all along. Okay, so if index funds are so great, why doesn't everyone use them? Well, there's this thing called the paradox of choice. When you have too many options, you freeze. Go to any investment platform and you'll see thousands of funds. Which index? Which companies? Which country? People get overwhelmed and do nothing. It's like standing in the cereal aisle staring at 200 boxes and walking away with nothing. Plus, there's this fear that investing is for rich people, or that you need thousands of dollars to start. Spoiler alert, you don't. Alright, here's how you actually master this in 30 days. Week 1 is just learning, that's it. You're not investing a dime yet. Spend maybe 30 minutes a day understanding 3 things: what the S&P 500 is, what a total market index fund is, and the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF. The S&P 500 is just the 500 biggest US companies. A total market fund owns basically every public company. An ETF trades like a stock, a mutual fund doesn't. That's honestly 90% of what you need to know. No pressure, no money at risk. Week 2, you're setting up your account. This is where people get nervous, but it's actually straightforward. Pick a brokerage. Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab are the big reliable ones. You'll need your social security number, bank info, and about 15 minutes. That's it. You're basically filling out a form. Don't overthink which brokerage, they're all solid. It's like choosing between Target and Walmart, they both have what you need. Open either a regular brokerage account or a Roth IRA if you're saving for retirement. Then just let it sit for a few days while you get comfortable. Week 3 is when it gets real, you make your first purchase. And here's the thing, start small. You don't need to invest your whole savings on day 1. Start with whatever feels comfortable. Could be $50, could be $500. For most index funds, you can start with as little as $1 now. I usually tell people to pick one fund for simplicity, either a total US stock market fund or an S&P 500 fund. Vanguard's VTI or VOO are popular. Fidelity has FZROX. Just pick one, buy it, and then, this is important, don't look at it every day. Here's where most beginners mess up. They invest money, then they check their account every single day, watching it go up and down. That's like planting a seed and digging it up every morning to see if it's growing. Markets fluctuate. Some days you'll be up, some days down. If you check constantly, you'll panic and sell at the worst time. Remember Tom, my neighbor? He finally bought an index fund, then sold it 3 weeks later because it dropped 4%. 2 months later, it was up 12%. He lost money because he couldn't stop watching. Don't be Tom. Week 4 is about automation, and this is the secret that separates people who build wealth from people who don't. Set up automatic investments. Could be weekly, could be monthly, whatever matches your paycheck. Even if it's just $25 a week, you set it and forget it. It's called dollar cost averaging, which sounds complicated but just means you buy a little bit regularly, so you automatically buy more when prices are low and less when they're high. The automation removes the emotion. You're not deciding whether the market looks good today. You're just consistently building your stake, month after month, year after year. Now let's talk about why this actually works long term. It's because of compounding, which Einstein supposedly called the eighth wonder of the world. Here's a simple example. If you invest $300 a month into an index fund that averages 10% a year, which is roughly what the stock market has done historically, after 30 years you'd have about $678,000. You only put in $108,000 of your own money. The rest? That's your money making money. The earlier you start, the more dramatic this gets. This is how regular people become millionaires without ever picking a stock. Let's tackle the fears people have. What if I invest right before a crash? Well, crashes happen. 2008, 2020, the market drops sometimes. But here's what history shows: every single time the market has crashed, it's eventually recovered and gone higher. If you're investing for the long term, 10, 20, 30 years, the crashes are just bumps. In fact, if you're buying regularly, crashes let you buy more shares when they're cheap. The people who lost money in crashes were the ones who panicked and sold. The ones who stayed in, or kept buying, they came out ahead. People always ask, but what about picking stocks? What if I find the next Apple? Sure, that'd be great. But here's the reality: professional investors with teams of analysts and supercomputers can't consistently pick winners. What makes you think you can? It's not about intelligence, it's about information and time. You're competing against people who do this 80 hours a week. Plus, even if you pick a winner, you need several winners to beat the market average. With index funds, you own all the winners automatically. You own Apple and Microsoft and Google, plus the next big thing when it shows up. Here's something to consider as you get more comfortable: international diversification. The US stock market is huge, but it's only about half of the world's market. You can get index funds that invest in international companies: Europe, Asia, emerging markets. Some people do 70% US, 30% international. Others stick to 100% US. There's no perfect answer, but having some international exposure means you're not putting all your eggs in one country's basket. It's pretty simple to add: there are total international index funds just like there are total US ones. Just another option in your toolkit. Quick word on taxes, because people worry about this. If you're investing in a retirement account like a Roth IRA or 401k, your investments grow tax-free or tax-deferred. That's a huge advantage. If you're investing in a regular brokerage account, you'll pay taxes on dividends and on profits when you sell, but index funds are actually pretty tax efficient compared to other investments. They don't trade much internally, so you're not getting hit with constant tax bills. And honestly, paying some taxes on investment gains is a good problem to have. It means you're making money. Don't let tax worry stop you from starting. So here's the aha moment, the thing that makes it all click. Investing in index funds isn't about getting rich quick. It's not about beating your neighbor or finding secret opportunities. It's about quietly, boringly, participating in the growth of the economy over time. Companies innovate, people work, the economy grows, and you own a piece of that. The stress disappears when you realize you don't have to be smarter than everyone else. You just have to be patient and consistent. Sarah, my friend from the dinner party? She started 6 months ago with $100 a month. She doesn't check it obsessively. She just lives her life, knowing her money is working. So what's your next step? It's simpler than you think. You don't have to do everything today. Just pick one thing from this video and do it this week. Maybe it's researching what the S&P 500 actually is. Maybe it's opening that brokerage account you've been putting off. Maybe it's setting up a $50 automatic investment. The 30-day framework isn't rigid, it's just a guide to stop you from overthinking. The biggest mistake isn't choosing the wrong fund or the wrong time. It's waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Start small, start simple, and let time do the heavy lifting. That's it. That's how you master index funds without stress.